First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Listen very carefully. This is a vessel wall. This is your blood. It is now known that the genes that are injected into your body will enter the bloodstream, and it is absolutely certain now that these genes are going to enter the cells that line the vessel wall, because these are the cells that they contact. Now, what happens when the cells that line the vessel walls begin to produce these spikes? The spikes will then be produced by the cell and protrude from the cell surface into the bloodstream. These cells are going to be recognized by your lymphocytes, given to you by the dear Lord, to kill those cells that are making the virus or the virus protein, any virus protein. So these lymphocytes are going to mount the attack on your vessel walls. This is the first way towards clot formation that, as we know, is happening all over the place, all over the world. Now, at the beginning, after the first vaccination, this danger is bad and is already terrible in itself if your killer lymphocytes start trying to kill you. But at that time, during the first 7 to 10 days, there are still no antibodies. There are not yet any antibodies. However, after 3 or 4 weeks, there are masses of antibodies all over the place in your blood. And if you dare to repeat this performance and start to put those spikes out into your blood, God help you. Because now, not only the killer lymphocytes are going to attack, antibodies and complement and leukocytes are also going to attack, thinking that your cells that are producing these spikes are bacteria. And they are going to try to eat your vessel wall cells.
But what we're seeing in the laboratory after people get these shots, we're seeing a very concerning locked-in low profile of these important killer T cells that you want in your body. It's almost a reverse HIV. In HIV, you lose your helper T cells, your CD4 cells. In this virus post-vaccine, what we're seeing is a drop in your killer T cells, your CD8 cells. And what did CD8 cells do? They keep all other viruses in check. What am I seeing in the laboratory? I'm seeing an uptick of herpes family viruses. I'm seeing herpes. I'm seeing shingles. I'm seeing mono. I'm seeing a huge uptick in human papillomavirus in the cervical biopsies and the cervical pap smears in women. In addition to that, there's a little infectious bump that kids get called molluscum contagiosum. What do you need to keep that in check? You need CD8 killer T cells. I am seeing a 20 times increase in individuals over the age of 50 of this little bump and rash. That's innocuous, but what it tells me is the immune status of these individuals who have gotten the shot. We're literally weakening the immune system of these individuals. Now, most concerning of all is there's a pattern of these types of immune cells in the body that keep cancer in check. Well, since January 1, in the laboratory, I have seen a 20 times increase of endometrial cancers over what I see on an annual basis. A 20 times increase. I'm not exaggerating at all. Because I look at my numbers year over year. I'm like, gosh, I've never seen this many endometrial cancers before. I'm seeing invasive melanomas in younger patients. Normally, we catch those early and they're thin melanomas. I'm seeing thick melanomas skyrocketing in the last month or two. I'm already seeing the early signals, and we are modifying the immune system to a weakened state.
My name is Dr. Kevin Stillwagon. You are making some really bad decisions based on fear of a virus that has about a 99% survival rate for most of us. This shot that you insist on people getting gives you absolutely no protection against infection. It is the innate immune system that protects you from infection by using dendritic cells, T cells, and natural killer cells without antibodies ever becoming involved. This shot has one goal, And that goal is to make antibodies. These antibodies circulate inside of you and cannot prevent an infection. They can only react to something that has already gotten inside of you. They cannot keep something out. The shot decreases the ability of your innate immune system to keep viruses out by 60%, and a booster shot will reduce it even more. Even worse, the antibodies that are created by this shot can no longer neutralize variants and actually enhance the virus' ability to infect you. It should be painfully obvious to you by now that fully vaccinated people are getting sick. And this will continue to get worse if you keep trying to jab people while a virus is trying to spread. The variants are emerging from the vaccinated population.
How you doing, guys? Dr. Thompson here, Exemplified Health Center, Wellness Way Affiliate, right here in Yorkville, Illinois. I apologize for that. That is backwards. But I need to flip the camera around so that you can see some data so that you guys can actually read it. All right, guys. Hey, please share this video. This is very important because I don't know anyone yet who has done this testing. This is very important. I'm going to show you testing, immune system testing on 3 separate occasions. And I'm going to give you when we did these specific things. The first one was a person, and yes, we have his permission. This was some immune system testing that we did. And this person that came in was, basically type 2 diabetic, very high inflammatory markers, high triglycerides, tanked hormones, immune system not doing very good either. And so the testing I'm going to show you, the one that I'm going to show you first, this was after he really worked on changing his life. And you're going to see the immune system doing just fine. It's doing great. But guys, this is where is the reason why I'm doing this video is this. And I'm not super happy. I am not happy, about this. I'm not spiking the football by any stretch of the imagination because I don't want to see people get sick. But what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you using medical testing, verifiable proof, immune system testing of how from changing a lifestyle to getting the first, let me show it to you since I can't say it, the first, and then I'm going to show you after the second, and I'm going to show you the changes that took place in the immune system. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means when you read this testing, okay? This goes right in line of what, as Wellness Way doctors, Dr. Patrick Flynn, myself, this is exactly what we said, what will happen. And now I'm starting to see it happen. And again, it can't be false because this is medical testing. All right. So let me show you the first one. Now, this gentleman, it went from type 2 diabetic to no longer type 2 diabetic. Went from being able to hardly be able to, like his goal was to walk a mile. He can run a 5K now. He lost conservatively 60, 70 pounds. I don't really measure that, that much. It's not really that important. But all his lab markers got better and they changed. He completely changed his life. Now, he got this, and he knew he didn't want to, but he felt compelled to in order to keep his job. Can you imagine that? To keep his job. And I understand why men would do it. And this is what I tell you. It says I can give you the information and give you the research. It's always going to be your decision. I know what my decision would be. I know what my decision would be for my family. I cannot make that decision for you, and I cannot tell you what hill that you would like to die on. So I'm going to show you his first one. I'm going to show you after the very first one, and then I'm going to show you the second one, and I'm going to show you exactly what it means, guys. Please share this video. All right. So this is after him doing a really good job of changing his life. This was when he was doing absolutely amazing. Still is, except for his blood work now. So you can see when you look at this, you see all of these in within these ranges, but this is what I want you guys to pay attention to is this. I want you to look at the granulocyte count and look at the lymphocyte count. All of these things, these are basically, just part of the immune system, which is kind of a basic panel a lot of doctors run. All of these immune cells perform a specific function. And when you look at it, you can associate it maybe the type of infection if they're elevated. You can see the type of infection that people will typically have, okay? So granulocytes, things are like lymphocytes, neutrophils. You got all your different types of lymphocytes. You guys are going to notice that when your doctor runs it, they don't differentiate between CD8, CD4, natural killer cells, things like that. Monocytes, these are your dendritic cells, your macrophages. This is what we're going to go over tomorrow. Eosinophils, associated with parasitic infections. Basophils, associated with severe allergic reactions. Things like that. So when you look at this, the biggest thing that you see is you say everything is doing really well. Okay, I want to show you this. This is after the very first you know what. So the very first you know what you can see is we started testing an expanded immune system panel, and I said, hey, if you don't mind, I want to see how your immune system is responding after the first you know what. So this is the first you know what. Here's what's interesting, is you see the CD8 cells started to jump way up. So you see these CD8 cells start to jump way up. Now, let me turn the camera around. Let me tell you what a CD8 cell actually does. CD8 cell is called a suppressor T cell. It's also known as a killer T cell. What do killer T cells actually do? Well, what these are sniper-specific cells, and they are designed to kill virally infected cells that are literally wearing the virus on the surface of the cell. Think of spike protein. And it's also killing cancer cells. That's the job. They're very sniper-specific. They don't do a lot of collateral damage, but I want you to think anything that is virally infected. So when you look at this, you can see those CD8 cells after the first you know what, you can see they start to jump up. They're saying, hold the phone. What is going on here? We need to start killing off these cells that are expressing a specific, I don't know how you say it, spike protein. Okay. That was a couple of days after the first one. So you're seeing that as CD8 cells start to jump up. I said, okay, if you don't mind, I want you to get it after you get the second you know what. I will pay for it. Just please let me do it for my research. I know that regardless, you're still going to do it. At least let's get some benefit from doing it so that we can gain some clinical data. Because I guarantee you, your doctor isn't saying, hey, let's do an immune system panel, an expanded one that's CD4, CD8, natural killer cells and things like that. Guys, if you don't know what the test is, it's very similar to how they measure progression of HIV infection. Okay. It's basically an AIDS test. So that was his first one. I want to show you the second one. We just got it back literally last night, okay? This got back literally last night. Now, this is after the second. Now, I want you to look at this, and I want you to stay with me. Please stay with me, okay? So now what you see is you see that his granulocytes, look at how much they jumped up. Holy cow. These granulocytes are responsible for basically they're neutrophils, they're first responders, they're emergency type cells. They're responsible for, they do have a viral component to it, but they're mostly for bacterial infection, and they also clean up tissue damage. Think of when you have tissue damage like a pimple, like a scratch, like a sprained ankle. They're responders to tissue damage. And you look at this and you're saying, what on earth is getting damaged inside of the body? Then when you look at his lymphocytes, so his lymphocytes are things like his CD4 cells, CD8 cells, natural killer cells, his B lymphocytes that are producing antibodies, the very reason why they wanted to do it in the first place, to produce an antibody production. You can see how badly now that started to tank. And then what's interesting too is that you can see that his natural killer cells have absolutely tanked as well. Natural killer cells, guys, this is part of your innate immune system, okay? This is your innate immune system, and natural killer cells are your first responders to things like viruses, virally infected cells, and yes, even cancer cells. And wow, holy cow, you can see how that is tanked. Now, what I'm not showing you is all his other numbers, but every single one of his lymphocytes are on the very lowest end of normal, and comparing it to the last one, they have absolutely tanked. So what is tanked? His adaptive immune system has absolutely tanked. Adaptive immune system, CD4, CD8, natural killer cells, B lymphocytes. All of those things have actually just gotten pummeled within the month. Now, what has changed within the month? Gee, I wonder. He's still eating great. He's still exercising. He's still avoiding his food allergies. He's taking his supplements. So what changed in his environment? It was a toxin. I'll leave it up to you to understand what I mean by a toxin. So look at how that changed. So listen, if no one told me anything, if I looked at this and said, hey, Dr. Nate, look at this blood work, because this is what we say. We say a person could be blind, deaf, and dumb. And dumb, not dumb, but meaning in the biblical term, you can't speak. If a person could not communicate to me, then you say, show me x-rays, show me labs, show me that. And we could pretty doggone get it closely figured out as far as what's going on. So if you said, hey, look at this lab, and what does it tell you? I would look at this lab, and in 2 seconds, I would say, this person has autoimmunity.
I got sick, and I never recovered from it. I would always have back pain. I was just super tired in the games. Like when we played Philly back to back, bro, I was so tired. Like I felt like I couldn't run up and down the court. And then my back was hurting. Then we went home, I think. That's when I started, my back really started hurting bad. And then I'm like, all right, I gotta go to the doctor. And that's when I found out I had blood clots. That all happened in a span of a month. I was fine up until then. Up until I took the vaccine, I was fine. So people trying to tell you, no, it's not the vaccine. No, how do you know? You don't know. Yes, the vaccine ended my season. 1,000%.
Tell you what we know, which is in the big countries in Western Europe, in several of the big countries in Western Europe, notably the UK and Germany, with the vast majority of people in Britain who died in September were fully vaccinated. 1,270 out of 1,500 were fully vaccinated. 607 of the 70-year-olds out of 800 were fully vaccinated. 258 out of the 411 60-year-olds, they were almost all fully vaccinated. Most people who die of this now are fully vaccinated in the UK. Those are the numbers. The two of the largest by population. Deaths are suddenly running higher than normal. And that's been true in the UK for several months. Remember, the UK vaccinated a lot of people early this year. They've had deaths running higher than normal for a couple of months. Germany, the vaccinations happened closer to the spring, and they've had deaths higher than normal in September. We don't know why. In the UK, where there's more data, it looks like there's a lot of cardiovascular deaths that are driving this. We don't know what that means. In the US, there has been an excess in mortality in people under 50 that has gone on for 2 years now, and we have a terrible number of deaths happening in people that age. Some of those deaths are COVID. Some of those deaths appear to be lockdown related, or i.e. Drug overdoses, which we know are running really high. But in the last few months, even as COVID deaths fell in the spring, deaths in that age group remained very high in the U.S. This is, and again, there's a couple possibilities. One possibility is that some COVID deaths are being miscounted, although we count COVID deaths very aggressively. Another possibility is that it's these lockdown/drug overdose deaths, although Europe doesn't have nearly the problem that we do with that. Another possibility, and I hesitate even to say this out loud, Tucker, because I know what the response will be, is that this is cardiac related and it is something to do with the mass vaccination campaigns.
My name is Deborah Conrad, and I'm a physician assistant at a local community hospital. I've been there about 15 years. I'm a hospitalist PA. I take care of the inpatients. So if you're in the emergency room and you have to be admitted to the hospital, you'll see me, and I'll take care of you throughout your hospital stay and discharge you when you're ready. I love my job. I love my job. Being in the medical field and knowing how important it is to make sure that we keep patients safe is number one priority. January, February is when we started hearing about the pandemic. And then I remember the day that they closed churches and schools.
The fields are empty. The playground's deserted.
And that's when it really hit home for me. And I realized, okay, it's coming. It's coming here. We got to get ready. I was actually sent into a larger hospital to learn and train how to take care of potentially catastrophic situations. Many of us just had severe anxiety during the pandemic, thinking we were bringing this home to our families. There was a bunch of us that went to learn how to do mass casualty training in case we needed it. So that was a little scary, and that's kind of when it really hit home for me. The vaccine rollout went pretty smooth at our hospital. I've never experienced an emergency use vaccine or an emergency use really anything in my lifetime. I've been pro-vaccine. I mean, my kids are vaccinated. We rolled them out to pretty much like essential workers and that and all at first. There were many that were excited about it, and I understand we were all looking for a way out. After rolling them out then to the kind of general public, the elderly and in nursing homes in the area, we would get elderly in with COVID. It was kind of interesting. And it was weird. It was almost like a week after they would get their first dose, they would test positive for COVID. And then we started seeing patients coming in, I got my vaccination and a week later they're in with pneumonia. I can say for sure in 2021, this is the year of pneumonia. Independent of COVID, I've never seen people with so many pneumonia, sepsis, and even in the middle of summer, all summer, that's what we would get in the hospitals, pneumonia. After the vaccine rollout, I definitely noticed an uptick in heart attacks, strokes, blood clots, gastrointestinal bleeds, gastrointestinal complaints, appendicitis. We even saw pancreatitis, recurrent cancers. It was noticeably increased, where it wasn't just me noticing it, everybody seemed to notice it. It became clear to me that there was something wrong. I knew nothing of VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. I didn't know about our responsibility to report. It was never even talked about when these vaccines were rolled out. I mean, you'd hear it in the news here and there, but there was never this push to make sure providers were made aware that if you're getting patients in the hospital with issues, these issues, whatever, that here, you got to go to this website and start reporting and start paying attention to stuff. That was never educated to us at all. And I went on the website, I looked, and the first thing I noticed was that it said healthcare providers are required by law to report certain adverse reactions to VAERS. And I said, what do you mean? Like, what law? So, and then you look further, and it had a whole section on it, exactly what you're supposed to report. Specific things you're supposed to report to VAERS after the COVID vaccine rollout. So that's when I started reporting patients on my own. Well, very quickly that became a full-time job in and of itself. I would say within 3 weeks to a month, I had already had 50 patients reported. And that was just of the providers that were willing to tell me about patients, recognized that there may be a problem. So I went back to my administration and I said, I need help. I can't do this all myself. It's overwhelming. I'm on the phone with the CDC all the time. I'm on the phone with these patients. I need more people to know about it so they can help me and we can do the right thing. But that was met with then resistance, because that's when the vaccines were really starting to get pushed. Everybody's got to get vaccinated. This is how it's going to go. And by me admitting that we need to report because there may be some issues, it would create vaccine hesitancy amongst the healthcare workers, amongst the staff, amongst the other staff, amongst the patients. Well, that's when things changed.
Tuesday, I was healthy and a happy person. Now Thursday, I'm at cancer. This arm won't move off the bed. This one I can use today. And I can't even sit up. My whole body's on fire. Feels like pins and needles. And sometimes when they ask me questions, I don't even know the answer, like with my last name. This is what happened when I took the vaccine. There are risks that they're not telling you about. On Tuesday, I was a happy, healthy, single mom of 3, capable of doing anything on my own. And I went and got the vaccine at 6 p.m. from a mobile clinic, and I got the Pfizer. Within the first 5 minutes, I had an anaphylactic reaction. It was rushed to emerge, where they treated me with epinephrine and Benadryl and another steroid. And I woke up the next day with pins and needles in my hands and in my feet. Within 15 minutes of being awake, I had pins and needles in my whole legs and my whole body. The burning, the deep bone aches were so bad. I was in complete tears. The burning in my legs felt like there was candles being held in my hands. I couldn't lift my hands. They did a whole bunch of tests. At one point, I couldn't remember who I was or what my name was or where I was. Yesterday, the movement in my hands came back, but I started to get migraines. Still bouts of confusion. I see double. This morning I had a migraine so bad I couldn't even lift my head up. My legs are on fire from my hips down. They're in tremendous pain. My heart randomly just beats super fast and super hard, and I can't catch my breath. I was fine before I had the COVID vaccine.
Today, I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for 25 years, research and development on vaccines. And I'm here before you today to tell you that it's not proper to experiment on children. Since when did you think that mama bears would go for that? We're here today because you're experimenting on children. Children. Better to have a millstone tied around your neck and be dropped at the bottom of the sea than to cause one little one to stumble. Children don't get sick of this virus. What planet do you think? I'm a researcher. They don't get sick. 226 children have died in a year, and it was not all COVID related. 226, and you're going to vaccinate the masses? How dare you? How dare you? Look at me in the eye and tell me that's genocide. Don't you dare proceed.
All right, your time's up.